All right. So now we're going to talk about client calls. This is going to vary for a lot of you in terms of how they actually go. But in general, I want you to have your consultations. I suggest, I don't want you to do anything. I suggest for best results that you have a consultation that's between 15 minutes and 30 minutes on the phone or via video, depending on what you do and how you feel comfortable. And what you want to do when you book, you want to get a little bit of information from your potential client before you start the call so that you're not going in blind. When you go in blind, you're less likely to feel confident, right? So if you're using Calendly, as I suggested, or something like that, there's usually a few questions that you can ask. And so I want you to think about the questions that you want to ask. That's going to be part of your task for today, is to put those in place. So when I was a designer, it was like, tell me a little bit about your company, include, I need your website, tell me a little bit about the actual project. I think maybe another one of like how they got to through or how they found me, that sort of thing, because that would tell me a little bit about where they were looking. So think about the questions that you would like to know, the most critical pieces of information you would like to know to feel confident in a sales call. That's number two. Number two, when you go into a consultation with somebody that has a potential client, you need to be really, really confident. I touched on this in the module overview. Whoever is most confident in the negotiation is going to win. And if you enter a client call and you're feeling dejected, your body language is like this, you're probably not going to make the sale. Even if it's over the phone, because you can even hear it in my voice, right? Like, you can hear the difference in my voice between when I'm feeling like this and when I'm feeling like this. It's amazing. So I want you to get in the habit of putting yourself into a confident state before a call. If you need to run around the block listening to dance music to get your energy up, if you need to journal about how amazing you are at what you do, if you need to do affirmations or meditate, do whatever it is you need to do before you have your call so that you are in a state of confidence. Okay, go back and review your homework when you wrote out all of the money that you have made for previous clients or previous employers. And, think about all of the amazing things that you've done. Think about why you're in business and your friends and family and how they're going to benefit by you earning the money. But I want you to be confident. Go into the call confident that you are an expert at what you do, because you are. You're really good at what you do. You just haven't learned how to sell it yet. And that's what we're all about, right? So confidence, 15 to 30 minutes, no more than that. And then when you're actually having the conversation, you want to lead them through and let them do most of the talking. So your consultation should be probably about 80% the client talking and 20% of you repeating back to get clarity, taking notes, because what you're going to do is create a custom bid. You're not going to give them instant results on the phone. What you're going to do, typically, unless you're a coach, and I'll touch on that in a minute, typically what you're going to do is you're going to say, tell me about the project that you've got going on and what you're looking for. And you're going to ask guiding questions to get them to give you as much information as possible so that you can diagnose what it is that they actually need. And if it's a fit, if this is a project that you want to work on and it sounds cool to you and it's something that you can do and you think this is a great client, then what you do at the end is you kind of repeat back to them. It sounds like you need X and Y and Z. It sounds like you have X problem, or, you want a really newfangled website, whatever. Repeat it back as often as possible in their own terms and say, okay, yeah, that's definitely in line with what I do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a custom bid based on that. I'm going to do a little research on my end, review your website. This is a great time to ask for clarifying information from them or more resources. Ask if they have in-house tools, who you'd be working for, who's on the team, that sort of stuff, and be really interested in the project. And then you let them know that you're going to put together a bid for them and get that back to them in the next 48 hours or something like that. I usually said 3 business days. One framework that you can keep in mind when you're having a sales conversation and you're bidding is to kind of think about how a professional like an attorney or an accountant or something of that nature would handle a sales call, and how you would expect them to handle a call and a consultation type thing. You are unlikely to have a conversation with an attorney who's going to be like, yeah, I'm going to do it for $25 an hour and drops it like that. They're going to talk a little bit about the process. They're going to give you an idea of what to expect working with them. They're going to give you an idea of what's included and what's not included. And that's what you're going to do in your bid. You're going to do all of that stuff in writing. I'm going to teach you some ways to really simplify that process. But for the call purposes, you are gathering information on this call. You're basically having them guide you through exactly what it is that they're facing and what they're expecting from you. You're asking any additional information that you might need from them. And then at the end, you say, yeah, that's definitely something that I'm interested in working on. It sounds like a perfect fit. You could give them a couple reasons why it's a perfect fit, and then say, you know, I'd like to create a bid for you. And if they say yes, which most of the time they will, because that's why they're having the conversation, then you go and you do the work and you get back to them. Sometimes they're going to be like, well, can you just tell me how much it's going to be? I'm going to caution you about those people. One, that's usually not your ideal client if they're already asking about money. Now, if they're doing it in a manner of like, hey, could you just give me kind of a ballpark of what you're thinking, time or money-wise, that might be okay. But if they're pressuring you right off the bat about money, they're probably not going to be a great client. So be cautious there. And what I would typically recommend that you do, this is not about being shady, it's about making sure you have time to really think through the problem, is saying, well, I'd really like to have some time to think this over and, you know, detail out my thoughts based on what you've told me here and make sure that I give you the best solution. You know, that said, I've had similar projects that were about 4 weeks and $4,000. So you can ballpark it that way if you really want to. But whenever possible, try and kind of keep it loose so that you really have time to think, because oftentimes what happens when you're maybe a little nervous, you've not done a lot of sales calls before, is you jump on something and you give them kind of a general bid, and then it's really out of line with what the actual project is when you sit down and do the work. But then you've committed yourself to it. You don't want to do that, right? So that's the conversation. For those of you that are coaches, your conversation is going to be a little bit different. Yours is going to be a little bit more personal, and you are going to be mimicking back. It's similar, but you're not going to necessarily do a custom bid. Probably at the end, it's like, is that something that you would like my help with? Right. So if you've diagnosed the problem, you've repeated it back, you say, that sounds like something you would like help with. They say yes. You say, is that something you'd like my help with? They say yes. It's at that point that you start coaching them into the package that you think is best for them. So you'll do everything on the phone. If you are a freelancer and you do have very clear packages, like maybe it's social media management that you do, and you have very clear defined packages, you can do the same thing. I recommend that you do start off with the conversation though and guide them through it and make sure that it's really a fit for you. Don't just take a client because on first glance, it sounds like they could be a client. It's a great way to burn yourself out working with people that don't value what you do. So make sure that it's a good fit for both of you. And the last thing I'm going to end here is if it becomes apparent at any point during the call, no matter how early, that this is not the client for you, shut them down. So I don't mean like just being like, dude, peace out and hang up. But what I want you to do and get in the habit of practicing is saying no. And so what I've done in the past with clients that have been very immediately not my clients, I've let them continue to talk, and then I repeat back what they've said in their words. You know, it sounds like you're expecting someone to do X, Y, and Z for you. Is that accurate? They say yes. They say, that's not what I do. It's not what I feel comfortable with. However, I do have a couple resources that might work for you that I'm going to refer to you. So I'm going to follow up with an email and let you know where to go get some information, or go connect with this person or that person, etc. But basically, like, I'm not going to spend time on somebody that I know that I don't want to work with. And by doing that, being authentic, one, you're going to protect your time and you're going to make more room for clients that are a good fit, but 2, you're going to build some loyalty from this stranger. I've actually had people refer work to me because of that. I've had people come to me and be like, oh, I need this mobile app. This was a great one, right? I had a client that came to me, was like, I have to have this mobile app. And we start talking about, like, why do you have this mobile app? And they're like, well, I was told I had to. And somebody told them they needed a mobile app. It was a restaurant. A restaurant does not need a mobile app. You don't. And so I was like, that's not a good value. It's not a good way to spend your money. You know, like, as much as I might like the work, like, I'm not going to have you spend $10K on something that you don't need. And by telling them that and releasing them from this bad advice that somebody else gave them, you know, and giving them some better suggestions, not only did they come back to me later on with some work, but they referred me to other people that led to, you know, what I actually do. So be authentic. Don't try to be all things to all people. Just try to help. And remember that what you do is valuable, and you're just simply offering the opportunity for somebody to work with you. Sound good? Get to it.